Hey everybody, I want to give you a quick update on monopolies, just so you have sort of a base as you begin to watch some videos and do some readings and work on some of the workbook exercises. So the first piece about monopolies that you need to realize is different from a perfect market. Monopolies have just one firm. The good news is that the firm has the same marginal cost, average total cost, average fixed cost curves as a perfect market firm. But the difference is that in a monopoly, because there's one firm, they're not a price taker, they're a price maker. They can choose what price. It's not determined by the market, it determines, or it's determined by what that one firm wants to sell their product for. Now, there's a couple of different ways, and you've actually probably heard of how monopolies come to fruition in your history class. So there's patents. Maybe there's controls of resources. There might be, so like oil companies might have control over easily drilled for oil. Someone might have a patent for a medical drug or something along those lines. What is different, a main difference is how revenue is accumulated for monopolies. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to talk about how to consider a monopoly's revenue through just looking at some numbers. There's another way, there's two other ways to look at revenue, and I'm going to have another video that looks at a calculus-based approach. In AP Microeconomics, we don't have to have the calculus-based approach, but for students in calculus, I think that it's a little bit easier to see that way than in the this table I'm about to put on up here. And then once we get used to the revenue functions for a monopoly, we won't necessarily need to do this elaborate table representation or even the calculus. We'll just sort of remember, okay, here's what a marginal revenue graph looks like. And you'll see those graphs in your reading, and we'll cover them in class. So the first thing I have is a demand curve. And so the demand curve I'm going to look at is really simple. It's that the price is negative Q, the quantity, plus 20. So I'm going to make a table here that has the price, the quantity, the total revenue, and the marginal revenue. So again, here's a demand curve. P equals negative Q plus 20. And this demand curve says that, okay, if the quantity is 0, that means the price would be 20. So 20 is the price that no one wants any of this product. And then as the price goes down, the quantity is going to go up. That's the law of demand. And so we can plug 1 in for Q and get that, okay, the price is going to be 19. This is a very simple demand curve. And you can just plug numbers in. And get these numbers right from this demand curve. Total revenue. We know that total revenue is price times quantity. So I'm just going to multiply these cells together. 20 times 0 is 0. 19 times 1, 18 times 2, 17 times 3, 16 times 4, and 15 times 5. So you can see that as the company sells more, even though the price goes down they have to sell for, the total revenue is increasing. How do we know the total revenue is increasing? Well, we see it going up and up and up, but we can measure that, and that's what marginal revenue is. Remember that marginal revenue is the change in total revenue divided by the change in quantity. So it's the change here. There's nothing at first, there's a change because it's starting. 0 to 19, it goes up by 19. Now it goes up by, I'm just subtracting these and dividing it by the difference here, which is just 1. So that's 17, 15, 13, and 11. And here's the big piece, is that this marginal revenue is decreasing. Why is it decreasing marginal revenue? The reason is that this monopoly, when it sets this price, even though it sells more, all the previous quantities they could have sold for a higher price, they now have to sell for that one price. Remember that one of the laws of markets is that there's one price. So you can't say, all right, for one person it's going to be $15, for another person $17, for another person $18. There has to be one price. So this person that said, okay, yep, for $15 I'll buy that. This person who was okay for $18 now also gets to pay just $15 for it. That's a huge piece when we start talking about monopolies, is that every time you want to sell one more, you have to lower the price. And when you lower that price, not just that one person pays less, but everybody else. So if we lower the price to 14, we could sell one more quantity. That's great, except for this first person who's willing to pay 19. They now only have to pay $14. So does this person only has to pay $14. That person only has to pay $14. So when we do 6 times 14, that's going to be 84 is the revenue, but it's not going up by a lot more. It's only going up by, in this case, 9. Why is it going up less? Even though they're okay, great, they're getting this $14 from the 6th person, but there's this person, this person, this person, this person, this person that they're actually getting less money from. That's why this number is going down. And that's a major piece when we start looking at what this looks like graphically, because remember the last piece, and just to connect the dots, is that the company, in this case the monopoly, is going to produce whenever their marginal cost, not up here, is equal to what is up here, the marginal revenue. So by selling one more, they're going to bring in $9 more. They're only going to sell that if the cost of producing that one more is less than or equal to 9. So the next video is going to look at why marginal revenue is decreasing from a calculus standpoint. Feel free to skip that video if you don't have a calculus background, but if you do, I think it'll help. And then both in our class time and then in some other videos, we'll look at why or what this looks like graphically. All right, thanks.